Can you tell us about your background and how you got started in the film industry?
Well, actually, I started to make movies when I was a kid, after watching Peter Jackson's King Kong in 2005, and I was totally blown away and fascinated by the Jack Black's character. So, I got home, stole the video camera of my father, and started to make my own movies with toys. And a few weeks later, I was like, yeah, maybe it's gonna be better, making these movies with some human. Actors, and indeed it turns out to be better. And every weekend, every free time I got, I spend it to make a lot of movies. I did a lot of crap, but I've learned from my mistakes. And it turns out that many years later, I'm here now making more concrete and serious independent movies. But the thing is, I don't consider myself as a industry filmmaker, because I think there's three level in this kind of industry. I mean, there is the industry, like the real cinema, real movies, and then you got the independent, which is low budget movies, but with a real financial support, with a real production distribution company and all that. And there's the third level, which is the very low independent budget filmmaking. And I think I fit in this category. So, I'm not really in the industry. I'm just trying to make my independent feature film with what I got, and with what I have, sorry. And so I don't consider myself as a filmmaker in the industry, but yeah, it's been a long time. I'm fascinated by movies since I'm a kid, so yeah, it was natural to trying to make more serious movies.
What or who inspired you to become a director?
When I was very young, I wanted to be an actor because I wanted to live every adventure, every situation, epic situation that the character were living. And I was like, oh man, it would be awesome if I could be one of those guys. But and then, as I said in the previous answer, I saw King Kong, and seeing this Carl Denham's character making a movie, ready to do anything to make his movie. I was like, man, I want to be like this guy. I mean, I kind of recognized myself into this guy, even if I was just 10 years old. I was like, oh man, that's fascinating. And this is the main the main movie that makes me want to be a director. But then, of course, after I was inspired by Steven Spielberg, Rob Zombie, Zack Snyder, all of these great directors, Quentin Tarantino, and yeah, Martin Scorsese. I forgot the most important one. And yeah, they are my cinema gods, and I'm always looking through them, but finding my own way making these movies. So yeah, but they are my main influences.
How do you approach the creative process when developing a new film?
I'm not really approaching anything, I mean, there's a lot to do with faith and well, destiny and chance. And the thing is, every time I'm preparing a movie, like for a long time, it turns out that I'm never being able to make it. So every time it's like, well, okay, we can do that, so we're gonna do something else. So I'm never really approaching, long before, movie. But I mean, of course, there's some kind of preparation and pre-production and all that stuff. But it's pretty minimalistic with me. I mean, it's pretty we I'm not preparing a lot because I like to be surprised by my own movie when we're making it. So I don't really have an approach. I think there's a lot to do. Also because I'm independent. I don't have a lot of budget, so I know that I'm not going to make everything I can imagine. So I have to stick to that. That the fact that I don't have a lot of money, so we're going to find some realistic solutions to make some scenes or shots or whatever. So I'm not approaching the thing as a complicated thing. I'm especially with my three previous movies, which is Gravidum, Ida, and Pandemonium. I was like, hey, there's a filming date. Let's see what happened. Of course, with preparing a bit of things before the shooting. But yeah, most of it is chance, and let's see what happens.
Can you describe your collaboration with writers, producers, and other key team members during the pre-production phase?
I I'm writing my own movies. I would like to to adapt faithfully some screenplay or books that I love, but right now I'm just writing my own movie. So in terms of screenplay, but it's pretty particular because with the previous movies, Gravitum and Ida, there was just a very detailed synopsis, and there was no dialogue. I prefer at the time to let the actors improv and to create the scenes while we were making the movie, and I thought it was pretty interesting because actually in terms of writing, for some movies, I was like, well, maybe I'm writing too much or writing too less dialogue. So there's too much explanation or too less explanation. So the compromise was talking with the actors and being like, well, what can you propose? And I see the scene that way. It needs to lead out there. So how can we, find something to do? And so for these two movies, we did that way. But for the next one, the last one, Pandemonium, which is a horror movie, it's much more complicated. I couldn't say to the actor, well, let's improv something. I just needed to have a complete script with dialogue. So for the first time in a long time, I wrote dialogues, and but that was pretty interesting because in terms of writing, Pandemonium was really a really good exercise because I wrote, I think, 12 version of the script, and I finally learned how important is a screenplay. That was something that I wasn't taking so seriously with the previous films. And for this one, I was like, no, yeah, that's important. You need to know everything you're going to do, everything they're going to say, and it can change a lot. It can change a lot. And so in terms of the other crew member, other department, because once again, I am a really low budget independent filmmaker, so we don't have a lot of people in the crew. But for the previous film, except Pandemonium, it was just hey guys, let's shoot this movie at that particular date, that particular week, and let's see what happens. But for Pandemonium, we have to try some makeup. It's a horror movie about demonic possession. So with the makeup artist, we needed to of course test the makeup and several versions of it to see how it could look. So yeah, I mean. Maybe just for this movie, I needed to prepare much than the other because we needed to test some makeup, some haircuts because one of the main actress had a wig. So these kind of stuff that you better test before, because if you wait until the shooting and realize that, oh shit, that doesn't look so good, I mean, you're in deep trouble. So for a horror movie like this, you need to test all of this before. But I'm kind of a lonely guy. I don't, I prefer, sticking to my vision and my thing. But I got to say, of course, that my wife is helping me while I'm writing. She said, hey, that could be a good idea. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's pretty good. So, yeah, it's a collaborative process with my wife. And with the other, I'm pretty secret. I got to say, I'm pretty secret.
What criteria do you use when choosing a project to work on?
That's a very good question. Because I had I sometime have a Steven Spielberg vibe. Like I want to do everything. I want to I want to do a movie about that, a movie about that, and I want to do a lot of movies. But reality make that sometimes it's not possible or it doesn't happen like I want. So what's the criteria for me to choose a movie to do? Well, I don't really know, but if I stick to my experience with my three previous films, when I'm thinking about a movie project that I'm going to do, if I'm in my bed in the middle of the night thinking about this project that I'm starting to have a lot of heartbeats, and I'm shaking and all that, and I feel pretty excited about the thing. It's the good project. I think this is the criteria is more on the inside. I need to feel really passionate by the story I want to make, by the movie I want to make. For me, it's really important because, of course, everybody, even I mean, you're like, hey, that's a cool story. I want to make it. And once you write it, you're like, that's not that good, but you force yourself. And then when you're directing the movie, you're like, no, that wasn't a good idea. And it happened a lot with some project that I finally canceled, and had a few problems with some people actually. But once again, when I don't feel a project, I prefer to stop it right in the middle of the thing. But yeah, when I know it's a good project, I feel it in my inside. Yeah.
Is there a particular genre or type of story that you are drawn to as a director?
I think because I'm an independent, low budget filmmaker, I don't have a lot of choice. Of course, I would like to do a war movie. Of course, I would like to do an adventure movie. Of course, I would like to do a Star Wars movie or whatever. Even if I did a Star Wars movie, but we never finished it. But whatever. But because I don't have a lot of budget, I need to choose some simple story to do, some intense story to do, and some kind of story where only the character are the visual effects of the film, are the ride of the film. So, what kind of subject? I mean, I really feel comfortable with dark drama, horror movies, kind of stories, type of stories. But once again, I don't know what exactly is going to be the next project. I didn't know I was going to make Gravidam. I didn't know I was going to make Ida. I didn't know I was going to make Pandemonium. I never know. But what I can, because I see that with a lot of, step back, I can see that, yeah, life enters in, and it turns out that I make some dramatic, dark, simple project, minimalistic, with only one location. And even if I dream of some bigger stuff, maybe as an independent filmmaker, maybe I'm, just gonna make these kind of projects. And honestly, I'm fine with it. I'm really enjoying. I mean, whatever the movie, as I said when I answered the previous question, you need to feel it in your bones. And if you feel it, if you love the movie, if you're ready to love it, sorry, for a year, maybe more, yeah, doesn't matter if the movie, the most of the movie sets just in a house, for example. Yeah.
What are some common challenges you face as a director, and how do you overcome them?
Well, honestly, I had a bit of luck with my movies, because I'm doing it. I'm making them sort of reverse. I mean, generally, you write your script, and then you starting preparing everything, searching for everything, and that's the difficulty of it. The challenge of it is like how to make this script happening in a real life. I'm working once again, because I don't have a lot of budget, in reverse, which is I first do a scouting of the locations, the place that I'm maybe going to use. And when I'm sure of it, I'm writing a story that I wanted to write around these kind of elements. So, in terms of scouting, location, and all that, it's not a challenge because I'm writing, you know, in terms of the possibilities that I have. So it's not a problem for me to realize the script I've written. But of course, there's always this frightening moment when you start the shooting and you realize that, oh, okay, well, it seems to be more easy on the paper than in reality. So you have to adapt yourself to resolve some problems. But honestly, with the three movies that I've done, it was never big problems, big challenge that I needed to fix or resolve. I mean, everything was possible, because if something is you know undoable. If we can do something undoable, I've just invented a word. If we can do something that is not, if it's not realistic to make, we're not going to make it. So
Can you share an example of a challenging situation during a film production and how you resolved it?
the most challenging situation that I had to resolve. Well, that's pretty complicated because I'm going to reveal some secrets. Of course, I'm not gonna name anybody, but yeah, honestly, the last movie, the filming was pretty difficult because we're a group of friends, and I I'm sorry to say that, but I had to constantly fight, with one of the crew member because he, believe it or not, even if it was a friend, he didn't read the script, and he was questioning every single point of the script, and I was like, no, dude, I mean, you can't say that. I wrote this thing 3 months ago. I know what to do. So the most difficult challenge that I had to resolve with this last movie was to unfortunately fight against a friend. Uh, I'm listening every suggestions, of course. I'm open to ideas and all that, but when it's about the vision and the whole direction of the movie, it's pretty hard to fight against friends because they are your friends. So you can't really being mad at them. You can yell at them. I mean, there's a certain respect to have. Of course, I understand that. But so that's the most challenging part for me, is that to compose, to trying to be okay making the movie with friends, even if sometimes they don't really understand the things. For me, that's the most challenging, is just to stick to your vision when, some people in the crew don't necessarily believe in the project. And you're going to say, yeah, but why do you work with these people? Because we're friends. That's why. But it happens.
How do you approach working with actors to bring out the best performances?
Because I'm collaborating with my wife on every movies, we talk a lot. So she knows what I want and how I see things, and everything about the movie we're making. So I have the advantage that, because once again, I'm independent and very low budget filmmaker, I don't have the time to focus on absolutely everything. Mostly it's the camera, the lighting, and all that, and of course the actors. But I kind of regret that because of this situation. But so because she's there, knowing what I want while I'm preparing the set, the setups and all that, she can talk to the other actor because she's playing in it, and she can talk like, yeah, yeah, we should try that, blah blah blah. He told me that later, earlier, blah blah blah, and so I had the chance that every of my instructions and ideas and all that, she knows about that, so she's helping me with that. But once again, that I have to say that that's the darker side for me as an independent director. It's because there's so much focus on, of course, the camera, the guy taking the sound, recording the sound, with the lights, and a lot of other details that sometimes you forget to think about actors more than they deserve. So that's a bit of a problem for me. I realize that the when we were in a very small committee, it was more easy for me to focus on the actors and talk with them about the scene. But I have to say that I'm lucky that I've picked good actors. They wanted to work with me on these projects, and so they were good. So there was no problem about that. I mean, they knew what to do. So and for the fact that, how do I take from them the best side of the performance? I think it's just the story. I mean, for example, in my first movie that is available on YouTube, I highly recommend you to watch it. Gravidam, the story is intense. So when you ask the actress to do, everything that the character needs to do, it's already intense. So I mean, it's impossible to, except if you're shitty, but of course she's not a shitty actress, but I mean, you can't do a wrong performance with a story like that. It's so intense that you have to deep dive into it. So I guess that I'm making stories that requires the intensity of every actor. I guess I honestly would find difficult to make a comedy or something, because even if it's the supreme art, I don't know, it's not like a horror film or a dark drama where everybody seems to be quiet about that. And these kind of movies, the dark drama, you need to, yeah, to be unleashed. Yeah.
Can you share any specific strategies you use to establish a good rapport with your cast?
Yeah, that's not easy. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's easy. I mean, every actors I've worked with, it turns out well. But it's if they know what you have done, if they know your vision, your universe, if they understand your vision, you know, they want to make the same movie. I think the strategy is that just being assured that when you're making a movie with some people, they just see the same movie. They want to do the same movie that you're seeing in your head. That's the most important. Yeah, because as I said earlier, I didn't have the time to apply a strategy with my actors because it's independent and very low budget. So you just need to. It's a mutual trust.
How would you describe your visual style as a director?
That's a difficult thing with the first movies you're doing, because you don't really know visually how it's going to look like, and then through the years you're like, oh, that's the same kind of thing that I already did. So once again, it's not, I'm not like I'm not pretentious or something, but it's just something that I notice. Um, I think I'm making colorful movies with a good pictures. I mean, with a good looking picture. I mean, I think. I mean, everybody say that. I mean, when it's the end of a screening, they're like, "Oh my god, the cinematography was amazing." So, yeah, that's good. It means that the picture, you know, looked good. So that's cool. And yeah, I think I don't want to do a ugly movie. I mean, I think there will always it will always be kind of beautiful in terms of images. And yeah, just it's pretty hard, but with a very beautiful blur behind the actors, bokeh. Um, you know, yeah, no, I think it's important for me. Really, even if the story is dark, I mean, a rich color palette. Um, and every frame, every shot needs to be beautifully composed. For me, it's important. I mean, every shot needs to you know to to be a good shot. I don't want to make a shot that is ugly. I've done that many times in the past, and I was like, oh. But now I'm trying to, you know,
How closely do you work with the cinematographer to achieve the desired visual tone for a film?
I'm my own cinematographer. So, but that's once again, it's an important question because uh, I'm testing everything I can, and yes, sometimes I'm not right, but I mean, that was one of the problem with the latest movie, because one of the crew member, I didn't do any film school, and he did a kind of curses of lighting, sound, and all of that, and which is great, of course. I mean, everybody needs to learn about the basics, but he had a very academic vision of the thing, and I'm the kind of guy who's, if I'm doing something, I'm going to be sure that it exists and somebody did it. But I'm like more natural lighting. Just maybe one source, um, like some old paintings and all that. But it was source of conflict, because he wanted to do an academic lighting, and I wanted to do a naturalistic lighting, and so we needed to do both. But yeah, once again, I'm trying a lot of stuff because I'm not a I'm not a master cinematographer. I'm just trying some stuff and learn from my mistake, and yeah, just take the time to try some stuff. But of course, I mean, the the fact of the cinematography of my movies, that I'm my own cinematographer. Some people can say, "Yeah, but you regret that you can't focus on the actors. So why are you filming?" It's a drug, man. I'm addicted to framing a shot. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I can't explain that. I would be so frustrated if someone else, shoot one of my movies. Honestly, so I am my own cinematographer, and yeah, it's for me. It's easy to to make my vision real.
Are there any directors or filmmakers who have had a significant influence on your work?
Sticking to my own way of making movies. But yeah, there is a Belgian director who is my favorite directors, Fabrice Duvels. He made The Ordeal, Alleluia, Inexorable, and all of these little dark movies. And yeah, I'm really influenced by this guy. Yeah, his visual side. I mean, he shoots his movies on 16 millimeter. So the fact that every of my movie uh, has really grainy images. It's something that I'm influenced with. I was like, I love this guy. I love this movie. I love his movie, so I want to do the same. But once again, I'm trying to find my own way. But I mean, with larger influences, maybe Rob Zombie. You know, uh, in terms of intensity, and the fact that he's making movies with his wife. For me, it's not weird to do every movies I'm making with my wife. So that's maybe the Rob Zombie thing about the movies I'm making. Um, yeah, maybe Quentin Tarantino for the fact that I'm a fan of my own movies. I know that's pretty weird. That some directors like, oh, I'm never gonna watch my movies. I don't want to watch them, and I'm like, oh yeah, man, I want to watch them. Like a lot of time, I'm drinking a drink, watching my movies, enjoying it so fucking hard. Uh, so maybe that's a Tarantino vibe. I love my movies. I love to write them, and these are my kids. So and yeah, for the rest, I don't know. I don't. Every of my influences, I try to be influenced by them, of course, but finding my own way. It was more difficult when I was younger, but now that I make, more movies, I know what's my way and how to get away from these influences and not being eaten by them.
How do you stay updated on current trends and techniques in the film industry?
I try not to, for not being depressed because, well, listen, as I said earlier, again, it's going to be a meme. Um, I'm a low budget filmmaker. I don't have a lot of money to make my movie, so I just have one good cinema camera, the Blackmagic 4K cinema camera. But right now there's already the 12K cinema camera from Blackmagic. So I try not to being aware of what's new coming in the industry, even if in the independent industry, because yeah, I once again I don't have a lot of money to make movies, so I prefer not know about the newest thing, that that are coming out because, well, I'm not, I can't afford them, so I prefer not being depressed, thinking, "Oh, I should have that." No, I prefer stick with what I have, and once again, it's not a problem for me because my visual style is making a lot of static shot with a classic tripod, but because a tripod shot doesn't get whole. It's the oldest accessories of filmmaking since 100 years. The tripod, and it doesn't get old. And because I don't have a lot of budget, I don't have a lot of tools to play with. I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna use a tripod. I'm gonna, precisely compose my shot, and that's it. And it doesn't get whole. So I don't feel the need to test a lot of toys around. You know, I like to be simple. If one day I can have the chance to have a much more money to make a movie, maybe. But right now, I think I don't have to see bigger than the movies I'm making.
Of all the projects you've worked on, is there one that stands out as a favorite? If so, why?
Well, I love every movies I've made, but yeah, I think my favorite is Ida, the second one. You know, I don't know why exactly, but we it was the longest shooting. I mean, the longest for me, which is 14 days. But no, yeah, it was really amazing because what actually it's the memories I have of the project. I really love the final results. The movie is available on Amazon Prime and on other platforms, so go see it. It's amazing. But yeah, I think that's my favorite because also, you know, we made the movie. We were really the crew was stuck together. It was really amazing. We were a bunch of friends in the middle of nowhere, in the countryside, in a little cabin in the hood, in the woods. And I don't know, it was paradise, man. Really, we enjoyed it so much. It was really cool. And yeah, I don't know, the energy and the creativity were at its highest level. So I really have a good memory of it, and because of that, yeah, I think it's my favorite project, the most nostalgic. Yeah, I love the other movies, but yeah, I think this one for now is my favorite. Yeah,
Can you share a particularly memorable or rewarding experience from a film you directed?
but I think everything has to do with Ida, because there was a certain energy and and friendship vibe about the movie. And the crew is not stick like that anymore. So and it's a really good memory. But the thing is, there was a so good creative energy between everybody in the movie that it was the first time that we won an award for the movie. I mean, in live, because you know with Gravitam and all that, we submit to a lot of online festivals because it was the coronavirus and all that. So we won a lot of award, but it was always online. So that's good. Thank you. But you want to live the experience for real. And yeah, with Ida, we were invited at the annual ceremony official selection of a French festival, and we won. We won the best drama. So it's an award for everybody, and it was amazing because I was dreaming about a moment like that. Like, oh my God, we are in a real festival, winning a real award in front of everybody. I mean, everybody dreams about that. So yeah, that was the most amazing moment. But something better can happen in the future. I don't know. But for now, yeah, it's this moment. Everything has to do with Ida. Actually, even if the things are not the same than it was at this moment, there is a certain, really, really good vibe about this movie.
Can you tell us something about the current project? How did it start as an idea, and how did you go about developing it?
So we're talking about Pandemonium, the demonic possession movie, the latest movie that I made. But I love horror. I always wanted to do a horror movie, and demonic possession is something that terrifies me, and for a long time actually. I was always dreaming to do a movie about that. But once again, I believe so much in that I was, yeah, scared to make a movie about that. So, but I was like, hey, if I'm not laughing about that, I can make a movie about that because I'm on the side of Jesus. I'm not like, hey, evil is good. We're gonna laugh about it. No, no, no. It's terrible, and good can fight evil. So I wanted to do this movie because I love horror movie, but once again, later deeply because I really believe that good needs to face evil in this world, and it's represented by a mother possessed. How am I developing this kind of movie? That's a project where I said earlier that I wrote it and made several versions of the script, and being sure that everything was nothing weird about the story. So yeah, no, it was a really simple project to develop. But yeah, yeah, you know what? The most difficult thing about it, uh, of course, I did a lot of horror shorts when I was younger, but they were not scary. So that was a problem, and I was like, dude, if we make a film with a demonic possession, it needs to be scary, but it really needs to be scary. How do we do? Because the actress didn't want it to put some eye contact with the yellow eyes and all that. So the most scary thing of that, we couldn't make it. So I was like, oh, we needed to, yeah, to make a film that was scary. Fortunately, I think we did, but that was the most difficult, to make a horror movie that was scary, which is more difficult than we think.
Are there specific genres, themes, or types of projects you haven't worked on yet, but would like to explore in the future?
Once again, I would like to do everything. I would like to do even if I said the opposite, but I would like to do a comedy. I would like to do a Christmas movie. I would like to do an action sci-fi movie. I would like to do everything, honestly. But as an independent, I noticed that life bring me back to dark, realistic drama horror project, and I'm fine with it. But yeah, of course, sometimes I would like to do everything, but I also want a certain continuity in my filmography. So I mean that's okay for me. Even if I want to do a lot of stuff like Steven Spielberg, he's making a lot of different genres. I would like to do like him, but would it be okay with my filmography? I don't know. I honestly don't know. So, uh, you know, we'll see what's going to happen next. Yeah.
What's next?
Well, it the answer is also the answer for the other questions, but um, I can't say anything about the next project, which is except that the writing is finished. I mean, most of it. Um, and yeah, that's very different of of the three previous movies. It's really different than the previous movies. So that's what I'm saying when it's an answer to the other questions. I hope that destiny would not you know would not mess up this project, because it's different. It's not really a horror drama dark story. It's more of an fantasy epic action adventure. So I really hope I can make this project. But yeah, once again, the problem is every time I wanted to make a movie like that, life said, nobody, you're gonna make this little film in a little house in the woods, and that's okay. But this one, I really want to make it. So I hope it's gonna be possible. But hey, whatever the next project is, I don't care if it's good, if I believe in the project, if you know me and if with the actors we have fun. That's the most important. But it would be cool if it could be this big project, because if we can do it, it's gonna be epic. Honestly, it's really gonna be epic.